is Lucy and today I'm going to be talking about my favourite books. So here I have a mix of fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, classics, manga. There's just a total mix of books that I have loved over the years. And this is my first sit down video that I'm filming with my new camera, so I'm very excited. I did already film this video, but something went wrong with it, so we're just filming it again with the new camera. So let's get into the books. So the first book I'd like to talk about is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and this is a YA fantasy about this girl called Elizabeth, and she lives in a library. She's been brought up there, and in this library there are magical books called grimoires. And these grimoires, if they become damaged, they can become monsters. And there are people called wardens who protect the grimoires, make sure that they don't become damaged, and if they do, they have to destroy the monsters. And Elizabeth wants to become a warden, and she's been brought up to believe that sorcerers are evil. And one day a sorcerer visits the library, and things happen, and there is an adventure, and there is a villain, and a mysterious plot, and magic, and there's a beautiful friendship and a lovely romance, and I just really loved this book. And when I got to the end, I just wanted more of it, so I would really recommend this book. I'm going to check out the author's other book at some point, An Enchantment of Ravens, but that is a fae story, so I don't know if I will like that one because I don't tend to like fae stories, but I will check it out. I don't know if the author has any other books out, so I need to have a look. But yes, I really did love this book. The next one is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder, which is also a fantasy book. And this book follows Yelena, who's been imprisoned for murder. And she is offered a chance for freedom. So if she becomes the king's poison taster, which is a dangerous job, if she does it for a while, then she will be free. So Yelena embarks on this dangerous job. And we find out about her past. And there are trigger warnings for rape in this book, so just to make you aware. And there is friendship, there is magic, there is training and battles, and there is a romance, and I just really enjoyed this book. It's all about Yelena learning who she is, becoming more confident, and increasing her skills and building relationships with other people. So I really did enjoy this book and the trilogy. So this book is set in a series, so there are 3 books, then there's like a novella, then there's 2 books following a different character, and then there's another trilogy following Yelena again. So I've read the original trilogy, and I did think that the first book was the best, but I did also enjoy the other 2 books. And I read the novella, and that was good, but I think it was actually a short story. And then the book after it, following a different character, I didn't really like how that went. So I might pick up the next trilogy at some point, but at the time I did really enjoy this book. And I forgot to say, but this is in no particular order. So the next book is The Extinction Trials by S.M. Wilson, and this is set in a world where dinosaurs exist. And you have the continent where all the humans live, and you have the dinosaur continent called Pyloria. And humans can't really go there because it's so dangerous, because there are so many different dinosaurs there, and obviously a lot of them are dangerous for humans. But the human continent is becoming overpopulated, and there's a mysterious disease, and they don't have a cure for it that we know of. And our main character, Stormchaser, is actually friends with a dinosaur who saved her when she was younger. So people think that all the dinosaurs are bad, but they're not all bad. And every year a group of people are chosen to go to Pyloria and to get resources. But this year there is a different initiative. So every year there are trials, and this year is the same. There are trials to see who can go to Pyloria, and it's about intelligence and strength and speed. But this year the challenge is that these people need to retrieve eggs of 3 dinosaurs, and these are 3 of the most dangerous dinosaurs out there. And then they are hoping to be able to kill all the dinosaurs, basically, so that humans can go and live on Pyloria. So there's also another main character in this, Lincoln, and he has very different motives for entering this competition. And we see different teams of people, and there is a lot of competition because whoever retrieves these eggs will be given housing and medical care, and this is very difficult to get unless you are higher up in the government. So everyone wants it, everyone wants to win. And there are some people that are really vicious, so it does get violent. There's also encounters with dinosaurs, and there are some violent scenes, and it is quite emotional, and it makes you scared of the water because, yeah. So, but this was a really great book. I'm really interested in books about dinosaurs, so I just loved how this was like a YA dinosaur book, and there's a bit of a romance and there's friendship, and it was just really interesting. And it literally says it's like the Hunger Games meets Jurassic Park, and I would really agree with that. So if that interests you, I would check it out. This was actually sent to me by the author off my wish list, but it was already on my wish list because I wanted to read it anyways. And then I also picked up the other 2 books myself, but I do think that this is the best book in the series. I do have reviews on my blog for the first 2 books, I think, so I will link those down below if you'd like to check them out. Following on in the same vein, we have Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. So this is a book that the movie was based on, and in this book we have a group of people that are taken to this island, and there are a lot of genetic companies that have been trying to perfect cloning and bringing back the dinosaurs, and this one company succeeded and they made an island of dinosaurs, and it's supposed to be like a theme park, but obviously things do not go to plan and things happen. There is danger, there are dinosaurs, there are people trying to navigate this and to survive, and it's really interesting, and I can't wait to read the next book. I would really recommend this if you like dinosaurs, if you like anything kind of sciencey, because it does mention DNA and genetics and things, and I found that really interesting because I do find biology interesting. So if you have any recommendations of books that feature dinosaurs or something with genetics in, please let me know because I would be interested to check those out. So the next book I'd like to talk about is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So in this book we follow Addie, who is living in the 18th century, and she is due to marry someone, and she doesn't want to get married. She wants to have freedom, she wants to explore the world, but due to the time she is expected to marry, so she tries to pray to these old gods to stop her from becoming married. And her friend talks about these gods, but she says never to pray to them after dark, and something happens and she ends up praying after dark, and she is offered a chance for freedom. But she doesn't realise that this actually comes with a price. And it turns out that she essentially becomes cursed because no one can remember her. So anyone she meets, they won't remember her. Whenever she leaves the room, they don't remember her. And she lives for 300 years and she has to work out how to survive. And she tries to find out ways around the curse. And the person who made the deal with her visits her often. And she goes through some really horrible things, and she starts in France and she goes to some different countries. So we see America, England, Italy and Germany as well. And a criticism that has been said about this book is it is very Europe centred, and I do agree with that because she lives for 300 years, so you think that she would travel to many different countries, but none of them are mentioned, so that is a fault with the book. But we see her life and her different relationships, and then one day she meets someone who remembers her. So this is a really interesting book. It does start off slow, but once I got to around the 100-page mark, I just read loads of it. Within a couple of days I finished it. I read so much of it. It was just really interesting, and it's not a perfect book by any means, but it just felt like something epic to be able to cover all these different people and the different lives that she's led, 300 years of life. And she also can't create anything, but she works out how to influence other people, and you see different pieces of art throughout this, and it's just really interesting. There is also a romance which I didn't love, but the ending was really great, and yes, I would really recommend this book if it interests you. I have read other books by this author, but I haven't loved them. I did like Vicious, but I didn't like the sequel Vengeful, and I've also read City of Ghosts and A Darker Shade of Magic, and I DNF'd A Darker Shade of Magic, and it's just her books don't really seem to create a lasting impression on me, but this one did, and I'm really glad that I did try it because I really did like it. The next one is a bit of a different book, and that is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Macquarie, and this is essentially a picture book with quotes, and you follow this boy who meets a mole, a fox and a horse. And it is filled with quotes about life and mental health and friendship and kindness, and it is so beautiful. And for example, here, "I'm so small," said the mole. "Yes," said the boy, "but you make a huge difference." And there are so many emotional quotes in here, and if you have experience with mental health, then you may like this book as well. And it's for any age, and you can read it in any order. So it's a really great book. It's like a hug in a book. And it's really sweet, and you can always go back to it, so I would really recommend this book. It's lovely. The next book is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and you probably know what this book is about or have an idea, But you have Elizabeth, who's part of a family. She has many sisters, and her mother's ambition is to marry all of the daughters because they cannot inherit because they are women in this time. And then 2 bachelors come into the area, and we have a romance between Elizabeth's sister and Mr. Bingley. And there is Mr. Darcy, who doesn't appear to like her and seems quite cold. And yeah, I don't really want to say too much, but you have probably heard about the story. And I just love this story so much. I love the film as well with Keira Knightley in. I just really do love the romance and the plot and all the things that happen, and I love this story so much. And when I read this, I was really happy in the end to see what happened to the characters. So yes, I would really recommend checking out this book if you haven't read it. I do really want to read Jane Austen's other works as well. The writing isn't the best writing, but the story is just beautiful. So yes. So the next book is a manga, and that is Fullmetal Alchemist. And in this manga we follow 2 brothers, and their mother dies and they try to use alchemy to bring her back. And it doesn't work, and one of them loses a leg and an arm, and the other one becomes an embodied suit of armour. And they go on this journey to find a way to reverse this. And throughout this they encounter people, and there's talks of this philosopher's stone. And you can get the manga as 3-in-1 books, so there's 3 volumes in one. And one of the ones in the first set, I think, there is something horrible that happens, so I do just want to warn you about that. But I really do love the story and the adventure and the relationship between the 2 brothers and the other characters. And I love the anime. I've read some of the manga and I would really like to read more of it. So I would really recommend this if you're new to manga. That is one place to start. Or if you haven't read it, I would recommend it. And although I've seen all of the anime, so I do know how it ends, I am intrigued to read the manga again because I really do love the art style and just how it's laid out, and I really did enjoy that. So that is one of my favourite mangas. And the last one that I'd like to talk about is another manga, and that is Parasite. And in this book we follow this character who one night these aliens come to Earth and they try to kill people and take them over. And this one alien tries to attack this boy and things go wrong and he ends up living in his hand. And you see this boy and this alien try to navigate living together and how they're going to survive together, because they have to survive together. The alien cannot go anywhere else. And throughout the books you see their developing relationship and friendship, and it's really great. And they have to come up against these other aliens who succeeded in taking over bodies. And people are becoming more aware that something is going on. And the boy tries to keep it a secret because he doesn't want to be experimented on. So you see him trying to work out how to avoid or how to fight these monsters. And there is also a bit of a romance in there as well. So I really did enjoy this manga. There are 10 volumes and I read them all and it was really great. And I did actually start watching the anime as well. And another manga that I would actually like to talk about is Death Note. So in this series there are death gods and they have books and they write names of people in these books and these people die. And one day a Shinigami, a death god, decides to drop his book into the human world because he's bored. And this boy picks it up and he kind of discovers what it is and he decides to use it to kill criminals. And his father is in the police and people start to suspect that something strange is going on. And you have this boy, and there is another detective called L, who I really love, and he comes in and you've got him and the boy Light, and they're both really clever, so it's interesting to see what they come up with and how they try to go against each other. There are some emotional things in this book, and there's like one character who I wish had been in more of the volumes. So I would warn you about that you are probably going to be sad if you do read it. But I think this is another great manga that is really great for beginners, and it's one of the first mangas that I read. And I did really enjoy seeing the characters go up against each other and the things that they come up with, and this just constant battle between them and people trying to figure out who is doing this and how. And I just thought this was really clever and it was a great read. I haven't actually finished all of the volumes, but I did watch the anime and I wasn't happy with the ending, so I'm not going to be continuing with the manga. But I did read quite a few volumes. You can get 2-in-1 editions of this. So I always like to get the combined editions if I can, because I feel like that is a better value for money and I do really love them. So yes, I would recommend this manga. I don't know what the ending is like, but I assume it's the same as the anime, which I wasn't really happy with, but it does make sense But yes, I would recommend that manga as well. So those are all my favourite books. There are other books that I have loved that I just haven't mentioned here. I think these are the ones that I kind of think about the most. And for me, these are the ones that have created a lasting impression. I think about them more. So that's why I've mentioned these as my favourite books. But there are other books that I have loved as well. So please let me know your favourite books in the comments. And if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, if you have any recommendations for me, because that would be great. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe if you would like to. And check out my other videos if you would like to. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in another video soon. Bye!